Hey everyone, JSD Cool here, and I can no longer die from jumping off this building due to the beacons. That is great. Welcome back to another episode of Coolcraft Season 6. In the last episode, I of course built this giant spiraling cow farm here, but in order to learn more about that, you have to watch the last episode. Also, as previously mentioned, I put beacons into the International Trade Tower here, which means that my intro doesn't work anymore. In this episode, I am going to be primarily focusing on doing stuff in the Nether, starting with a kind of, quote, upgrade to the gold farm here. And by that, I mean circling this thing with a ring of beacons, because I think that would be pretty cool. And there would also be a more permanent installation of beacons than what we kind of have now. The beacon base is in all of its circular glory. Now, I realized after I'd built most of this that, first of all, for most of the beacons, it's overkill to actually have a full pyramid. And you really only need, like, the one line in order to actually get the beams, which is what this is, I guess, for. And second of all, that on the inside here especially, there's definitely, like this one, for instance, definitely doesn't have the facilities to do a full beam, but it looks like it potentially could, so that's all that matters. For the ones that we actually are going to put effects on, we're probably just going to be on the straight parts, the edges, where, you know, it will have the full things. But yeah, as long as it looks like it can have the full things, I think it's fine. So yeah, now I'm going to put in the actual beacons themselves. I don't know how I did it, but I chose a radius for this circle that is exactly 2 stacks. That is nice. But so yeah, as you can see, all the beams, they're going now, and the only issue is this one right here, because that piece of ice, and I'm not entirely sure what the best solution for this is. Actually, hang on, I thought of something that might work. Hold on. And this actually might be a little bit easier than I was expecting, especially considering that's on a diagonal, so give me a moment. Alright, there we go. Pretty simple, because the items, when they come through here, are actually in between blocks, which is what allows the hoppers to pick them up. They should just slide right over this other piece of ice, as if they're, you know, also on that. Now let's add some beacon effects around here, shall we? Full effects, as expected, and this is kind of trippy with the beam colors. Maybe I'll, at some point come back and put in some colored glass to make these rainbow, but for now, they're just going to be all solid white and all solid against the very dark background. Next up, I'm actually going to start making use of the gold at the gold farm now that we can theoretically AFK here indefinitely, and I'm going to build a piglin bartering farm, as some of those resources would be nice, like the obsidian, for instance. Alright then, so I've gathered the materials I need to build this bartering farm. And it's the exact same design that I've been using since Season 3 when I first built a bartering farm, because why not? And it also can fit like right here, just inside of the beacons. So yeah, let's get into a time-lapse of me building. Now that construction has been completed, and we have barely dodged the beacons, I need to get some piglins for this. So, yeah, that's the hard part. Piglins are in, and this was actually a bit of a challenge, because obviously I set up the area to actually spawn and collect them, like, right over here, and I just went there to try to get stuff to spawn, and it just so happens that there's, like, a giant cave right next to the bedrock, underneath the bedrock here. So, yeah, that was fun. But yeah, now that I've got the piglins in, I need to configure all the item filters. item filters have been configured. I just didn't bother grabbing enough items to actually fill the item frames, apart from a couple of these, so I'll have to do that later. Probably should actually add a proper way to get in here, which isn't flying based. Anyhow, next up, I actually need to connect the gold supply up to this thing. As that is kind of the point of it, after all. Alright, the farm has now been connected into the output from the... yeah, I guess it's a farm. From the other farm that is here, and yeah, therefore this is now ready to operate. Now, I did realize that this wouldn't exactly work the way I originally wanted it to work, because obviously we have the output from the actual gold ingots crafting there, which flows into the system over this way and into the piglins. For whatever reason, the system started to overflow. It would go back into the block crafting system here, in case you just want to farm gold and not farm, you know, the bartering drops at the same time. But then I didn't realize there's not really a way for me to necessarily do that without having to worry about raising items up, because hoppers and storage blocks, and while keeping the item buffer that I have from all these things. So I just had to give up on the item buffer thing for the most part. So yeah, despite the fact that I put in these beacons real recently, as in, you know, a few minutes ago, yeah, white isn't looking so good on them. So yeah, I'm gonna put some color on them. I was completely unaware that the beacon beams now actually just stop at the build limit, but yeah, I colored them in a very nice rainbow gradient here, and it actually is significantly nicer to look at this than just the white beams from earlier. And yeah, I did get a bit into making the gradient, which was a bit of a process, but very convenient amount of beacons that I had for this. Turns out the way that the actual beacon color is calculated is kind of interesting, but provides this weird pattern that you get in the glass to do a very smooth gradient like this. But yeah, this looks really good, and of course, as I just said, looks significantly better than it did when all the beacons were just white. Moving on now to the start of the project that I'm now starting to do next. So I'm going to actually, this season, build a proper nether hub, which we really haven't had since season 1. Now, last season I did build some form of nether hub, but it wasn't on the scale of like what season 1 was or what I'm going to do this season. So just to start off, I could show you the size of this thing. Well, at least the maximum size. I probably won't end up building it actually this big, as there's going to be a lot of areas that I'm probably just going to cut out because they're not necessary. But going from all the way over in this corner up here to some other corner out this way that goes at its max extent south to here, and max extent to the east all the way out till there. Yeah, this is a gigantic area. Now, the idea here is, well, I've already started putting down a bunch of slabs, which a skeleton has taken precedence on. The idea here is that this is going to be a nether scale area of the city in the overworld, and the floor of the nether hub, after a layer of glass, will kind of try to be a map, so you could try to navigate in the city based off the map of the nether. Now, the city is quite massive, and to cover the entire thing, which includes all of Tyler's unbuilt up areas, it requires the space. But the reason why I say I'm probably not going to end up covering all of it is significant portions of this area are just completely unused or ocean. For instance, this over here is Jaredy Cool's area, but my area and the stuff I'm doing is like over here and nothing to the north really. Most of this area over here and to this way is just going to be ocean or really unused land, so there's not really a good reason for me to build all that in the hub. Likewise, a lot of the stuff that's going to exist over this way is just completely unused. I mean, Tyler's area is basically undeveloped, so going down to this portal here is already stretched, but everything over this way is just ocean, ice, which is unused, although I think Jaredy Cool might be building something over there, but I don't know if that warrants building the entire nether hub out. And then, besides the pillager outpost for the raid farm, there's literally nothing but, I guess, some land over this way, so especially building down towards Tyler, I'm probably going to truncate what actually goes in the southern area here. But yeah, there's a lot of areas that I could potentially cut out of this. But yeah, just for now, I'm going to lay down a bunch of slabs, at least over the lava lakes, for where this is going to go. And then I gotta set up some beacons and get digging out some of this basalt here, because that's going to be in the way. The first step towards another hub has been completed, and that's kind of like putting down a work floor, which is, I guess, what I'm going to consider this. Basically, on this level, basically everywhere where the hub here is going to be, I just kind of like layer of slabs where necessary. Now, I didn't actually bother going further south than this because, well, Tyler hasn't really built up much. It's just that portal, and yeah, I'm just going to do that later. For now, I'm going to focus on this part. But it is not yet one giant open space. It is currently just a floor that is interrupted by a lot of stuff. So now I'm going to get some beacons out and do a lot of removal of stuff up to the actual height that we're actually going to have the Nether hub at. All cleaned out. Now, I did change my mind about converting the entire floor to slabs, as I kind of wanted to prevent spawning, as for some reason, I didn't know this. Yeah, fortress mobs could spawn inside of what was previously a fortress pillar. So, yeah, just having this area as one nice open and uniform slabbed area was so much better. But also, one of the frogs from when I was getting the objects for my storage system filters actually survived inside of some of the basalt over here. So yeah, I got a bunch of froglights from just from this guy eating up a bunch of magma cubes, and he's ended up all the way over here as well. Yeah, next up I guess is the glass floor that goes like a bit above this floor. Alright, the glassing of the floor didn't actually take that long because I had a nice solid surface to stand on top of. Let's see. The next thing that I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a wall around the edge of this. And then we'll see what I do for a ceiling. Also, this is kind of the height I'm thinking of right there. Some black walls have been put into the Nether hub area here. I did just decide to not do this one wall in particular, because I'm not entirely sure how much of this side of the Nether hub I'm doing, because I'm realizing I'm doing all this, but this isn't the entire extent of the Nether hub. So they gotta have the bit that goes out towards Tyler's portal, and I don't know how. Oh. Okay, well, this ghast has given me a great opportunity to say here that, yeah, the school's internet's having severe issues right now with random dropouts / connections that cause this to happen relatively frequently. So due to that, and the fact that I won't have much time over the weekend to actually be involved in doing video stuff, I'm going to leave it here. So with that, I'm going to have to say thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Check out my game, which is linked in the description, and I will see you all in the next episode of Coolcraft Season 6. Bye!